The fluorescent lights of the 7-Eleven flickered above Tamara Jenkins as her vision blurred. 9 months pregnant, she gripped the edge of the checkout counter, her knuckles turning pale against her dark skin. The world tilted sideways. "Miss, are you okay?" The cashier's voice sounded distant, underwater. Tamara's legs gave out. She collapsed right there on the cold tile floor, her swollen belly pressed against the ground, her breath coming in short gasps. The other customers stepped back. Some pulled out their phones, not to call for help, but to record. No one moved to help her, no one except one person. A white woman in a business suit rushed forward, dropping her briefcase, falling to her knees beside Tamara. "Someone call 911!" she screamed. "Now!" What happened next would change both their lives forever, because this wasn't just a medical emergency. This was the beginning of a story that would expose a web of lies, reveal a devastating truth, and ultimately prove that sometimes the people who save us are the ones we least expect. In that moment, as Tamara fought to stay conscious, she had no idea that this stranger kneeling beside her would uncover a betrayal so deep it would shake her entire world. She didn't know that her collapse wasn't just from pregnancy complications. She didn't know that someone she trusted had been slowly poisoning her for months. And she definitely didn't know that the woman saving her life that day was connected to her past in the most impossible way imaginable. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Tamara Jenkins was 28 years old and had been working double shifts at a nursing home for the past year. She was a certified nursing assistant, the kind who remembered every patient's name, who stayed late to hold hands during difficult nights, who brought homemade soup when someone couldn't keep down the hospital food. She lived in a small apartment on the south side of Detroit, in a neighborhood where people looked out for each other because they had to. Her mama had raised her there, in that same building, before passing from breast cancer 3 years earlier. Tamara kept her mama's Bible on the nightstand and her words in her heart. "Baby, the world will try to break you, but broken things can still hold light." The father of her baby was a man named Darnell. They'd been together for 2 years. He worked construction, came home tired and dusty, but always kissed her forehead and asked about her day. Or at least, that's what he used to do. Something changed about 4 months into her pregnancy. Darnell started coming home later, started looking at her differently, started making comments about how much she was eating, how tired she always seemed, how maybe she wasn't handling the pregnancy well. Tamara blamed herself at first. Maybe she was being too sensitive. Maybe pregnancy hormones were making her imagine things. But then came the headaches, the constant nausea that felt different from morning sickness, the tremors in her hands that her doctor couldn't explain. Stress, the doctor had said. Pregnancy can be hard on the body. But this felt like more than stress. This felt like dying in slow motion. The morning of the gas station collapse, Tamara had dragged herself out of bed feeling worse than ever. Darnell had already left for work, or so he said. She noticed the coffee he'd made for her sitting on the counter, still warm. A small gesture that reminded her of better days. She drank it, all of it, even though something in her gut whispered not to. By the time she made it to the gas station on her way to work, her heart was racing, her vision swimming. She pulled in to buy water, thinking maybe she was just dehydrated. That's when everything went dark. But if you think that was heartbreaking, wait until you see what came next. First major revelation. The woman who rushed to help Tamara was named Jennifer Walsh. She was a 45-year-old corporate lawyer, the kind who wore pearls and carried a leather briefcase and had never been late to a meeting in her life. She was also the last person you'd expect to find on the floor of a Detroit gas station at 7 in the morning. Jennifer pressed her fingers to Tamara's neck, checking for a pulse. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Come on, stay with me." When the ambulance arrived, Jennifer insisted on riding with them. The EMTs tried to refuse. She wasn't family, but Jennifer had a way of making her voice heard. "I'm not leaving her alone," she said, and that was that. In the emergency room, doctors rushed around Tamara, checking vitals, hooking up monitors. The baby's heartbeat filled the room, fast but steady. Tamara drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragments of conversation. Blood pressure dangerously elevated. Signs of preeclampsia, but also, "Run a toxicology screen. Something's not right here." Jennifer sat in the waiting room for 6 hours. She called her office, canceled her meetings, ignored the texts from irritated colleagues. Something about the young woman on that gas station floor had grabbed hold of her heart and wouldn't let go. Maybe it was the way no one else had helped. Maybe it was the fear in Tamara's eyes. Or maybe it was something deeper, something Jennifer couldn't name yet. When the doctor finally came out, his face was grave. "Are you family?" he asked Jennifer. "I'm all she has right now," Jennifer replied. The doctor glanced around, then lowered his voice. "We found traces of arsenic in her system. Not enough to kill her, but enough to make her severely ill over time. Someone has been poisoning her." The words hung in the air like smoke. Jennifer's lawyer brain kicked in immediately. "Does she know?" "Not yet. She's awake, but we're monitoring the baby. We need to involve the police." "Let me talk to her first," Jennifer said. She found Tamara in a hospital bed, one hand resting on her belly, tears streaming down her face. The monitors beeped steadily beside her. "My baby," Tamara whispered when she saw Jennifer. "Is my baby okay?" "Your baby is strong," Jennifer said gently, pulling up a chair. "But honey, we need to talk about what's been making you sick." Tamara listened as Jennifer explained about the arsenic. Watched the young woman's face transform from confusion to disbelief to horror. "Who would—" Tamara started, then stopped. Her eyes widened. No, it can't be." "Who?" Jennifer pressed. "Darnell," Tamara breathed. "He's been making me coffee every morning. Special coffee," he said, "with vitamins to help the baby." The pieces clicked together in Jennifer's mind like a lock turning. The devoted boyfriend, the careful poisoning, the gaslighting about pregnancy symptoms. "Why would he want to hurt you?" Jennifer asked. Tamara's face crumpled. "He didn't want this baby. Said we couldn't afford it, but I thought he came around. He seemed so supportive these last few months." "Supportive while poisoning you," Jennifer said, anger rising in her chest. "He was trying to make it look like pregnancy complications, maybe hoping you'd miscarry, or worse." Tamara covered her face with her hands and sobbed. Jennifer held her, this stranger she'd known for less than a day, and felt a fierce protectiveness rise up inside her. "We're going to stop him," Jennifer said. "And you're going to be okay. Both of you. But if you think that was heartbreaking, wait until you see what came next." The police arrested Darnell that evening at the construction site where he worked. They found arsenic in his truck, hidden in an old coffee container. They found searches on his phone. How to cause miscarriage without detection. Arsenic symptoms versus pregnancy symptoms. Life insurance policies for pregnant women. He'd taken out a policy on Tamara 6 months earlier. She'd signed it without thinking much about it. Couples did that kind of thing, planned for the future. She never imagined she was signing her own death warrant. In interrogation, Darnell broke down quickly, not out of remorse, but out of self-pity. "I didn't want to be a father," he told detectives. "I wasn't ready. She wouldn't listen. She wouldn't get rid of it." "So you decided to get rid of her?" the detective asked. "I just wanted her to lose the baby," Darnell said, as if that made it better. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." But the toxicology reports told a different story. The levels of arsenic in Tamara's system had been increasing. Another few weeks, and she might not have survived. Neither would the baby. Jennifer attended every court hearing. She'd become Tamara's advocate, helping her navigate the legal system, finding her a better apartment away from the old neighborhood where Darnell's friends still lived. She paid for a new phone so Darnell couldn't track Tamara's old one. She hired a security service to patrol Tamara's building. Tamara's co-workers and friends asked why a white lawyer with money was helping a black nursing assistant with nothing. Some people whispered. Some assumed Jennifer wanted something in return. Some just couldn't understand why anyone would care that much. But Jennifer kept showing up. 3 weeks after the gas station collapse, Tamara went into labor. Jennifer drove her to the hospital at 3 in the morning, held her hand through contractions, and was the first person besides the doctors to hold baby Grace. 7 pounds, 6 ounces of perfection with her mama's eyes and her mama's fighting spirit. Tamara wept as she held her daughter. "She's alive," she kept saying. "We're both alive. Because you're strong," Jennifer said. "Stronger than you know." That's when Tamara asked the question that had been building for weeks. "Why are you doing all this for me? You don't even know me." Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Can I tell you something? Something I've never told anyone?" Tamara nodded. 29 years ago, Jennifer began. I was 18 years old and pregnant. I was white, from a wealthy family in the suburbs. The father was a black man I'd met at college. My parents found out. Tamara listened, sensing something important coming. "They made me give up the baby," Jennifer continued, her voice breaking. "They said a mixed baby would ruin our family's reputation. They sent me away, made me give birth in secret. And they took my daughter away before I even got to hold her. They told me she went to a good family. They told me to forget about her and move on with my life." Tears streamed down Jennifer's face now. "I tried to find her for years. Hired investigators, searched records. But back then, adoptions were sealed tight. I never found her. I never got to tell her I loved her. I never got to say I'm sorry for not fighting harder to keep her." Tamara reached out and took Jennifer's hand. "When I saw you on that floor," Jennifer said, "I saw my daughter. I saw what could have been. I saw a young black woman who needed someone to fight for her, and I couldn't walk away. I couldn't fail again." The two women sat together in that hospital room, connected by pain and grace, by the babies they'd almost lost and the love that had saved them. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, something incredible happened. 2 months after Grace was born, Tamara was organizing the baby's paperwork. Birth certificate, social security card, medical records. She came across her own birth certificate, something she'd pulled out for the hospital registration. She'd seen it before, of course, but she'd never really looked at it. Born, Detroit Receiving Hospital. Mother, Tamara Jenkins. Father, unknown. Tamara had been raised by Sarah, the woman she called Mama, but Sarah had always been open about being her adoptive mother. "I chose you," Sarah used to say. "Out of all the babies in the world, I chose you. That makes you extra special." Sarah had never known who Tamara's birth mother was. Or at least, she'd said she didn't know. On impulse, Tamara pulled out her phone and searched for adoption records from 1996. Detroit had opened some sealed records in recent years, allowing adoptees to access information about their birth parents. She filled out the online form, not really expecting anything. These things took months to process, if they processed at all. 3 weeks later, an envelope arrived. Inside was a single page with a name: Jennifer Marie Walsh, birth mother, relinquished parental rights under duress, October 14th, 1996. Tamara stared at the name for a full minute before it clicked. Jennifer. Jennifer Walsh. The woman who had saved her life. The woman who had paid her rent and held her hand and been there for Grace's birth. Tamara's hands shook as she picked up the phone. "Jennifer," she said when the lawyer answered, "can you come over? I need to show you something." An hour later, Jennifer sat on Tamara's couch, staring at the adoption document. "It's you," Tamara whispered. "You're my birth mother." Jennifer's face went white, then red, then white again. That's impossible. I've searched for years. They told me the records were sealed forever." "They opened them," Tamara said. "Recently, for adoptees who want to find their birth parents." Jennifer looked at Tamara, really looked at her, and started to see it. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her smile, the way she held her head when she was thinking hard about something. "Oh my God," Jennifer breathed. "Oh my God, it's really you." They fell into each other's arms, 29 years of separation and grief and longing pouring out in sobs that shook them both. Grace started crying in her crib, and they went to her together. Birth grandmother and mother, both of them covered in tears and joy. "I looked for you," Jennifer said, holding Grace, looking at Tamara. "I never stopped looking." "I know," Tamara said. "I can feel it. I've always felt like something was missing, and now I know what it was." The impossibility of it struck them both. That Jennifer would be at that exact gas station at that exact moment. That she would be the one to save Tamara's life. That Tamara's near death would be the thing that brought them together after 29 years apart. "God works in mysterious ways," Tamara said, echoing her Mama Sarah's favorite phrase. "Or maybe love just refuses to stay buried," Jennifer replied. They sat together late into the night, filling in the gaps of their separate lives, learning each other's stories, building a bridge across the decades of separation. So what does all this mean for us today? This story is about more than one woman's survival or one family's reunion. It's about the invisible threads that connect us across time and circumstance. It's about how racism and classism tried to separate a mother from her child and almost succeeded in destroying that child 29 years later. Think about what Jennifer's parents did. They didn't reject their daughter's baby because of anything real, not because of who the father was as a person, not because of any genuine concern. They rejected that baby because she would be black. Because in their world, a mixed-race grandchild was something to be ashamed of rather than celebrated. That racism didn't just hurt Jennifer and Tamara. It created a wound that echoed through time. Tamara grew up without knowing her birth mother's love. Jennifer lived for 29 years with a hole in her heart. Both of them suffered because of a system that said some families were worth keeping together and others weren't. But here's what's beautiful. Love found a way anyway. Jennifer's instinct to help a stranger wasn't random. It was mother love that had nowhere to go for almost 3 decades, suddenly finding its purpose. When she saw Tamara on that floor, something deeper than conscious thought moved her to act. That's the power of connection that racism and classism can never fully destroy. This story also reveals something important about invisible abuse. Tamara was being poisoned for months, and the medical system almost missed it. How many women, especially women of color, have their symptoms dismissed as stress or hormone problems? How many times do doctors fail to investigate deeper because they assume black women are exaggerating their pain? If Jennifer hadn't insisted on that toxicology screen, Tamara and Grace might both be dead. That's not dramatic, that's statistical reality. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related complications than white women. Part of that is because their symptoms are taken less seriously, investigated less thoroughly, treated with less urgency. Darnell's crime was individual, but it existed within a larger context of medical racism that made it easier for him to get away with poisoning Tamara for as long as he did. And then there's the question of why Jennifer kept helping even before she knew Tamara was her daughter. Some people might say she was trying to ease her guilt about giving up her baby. Others might say she had a white savior complex. But the truth is simpler and more human than that. She saw someone who needed help, and she chose to be the kind of person who helps. That's not about race or guilt or complex psychology. That's about basic human decency. Jennifer could have called 911 and walked away. Most people did. But she stayed. She fought. She showed up again and again. In a world that often feels divided by race, class, and politics, this story reminds us that connection is still possible, that seeing someone's humanity isn't complicated, it just requires us to actually look. The fact that Jennifer and Tamara turned out to be mother and daughter does not diminish the choice Jennifer made to help. It proves that love recognizes itself even when it's been buried for decades. It proves that the bonds between us are stronger than the systems designed to break those bonds. This story matters today because we're still living in Jennifer's parents' world in so many ways. Families are still torn apart by racism. Women of color still have their pain dismissed. Abuse still hides in plain sight. And too many people still walk past someone in need because it's easier not to get involved. But we're also living in a world where records can be unsealed, where DNA tests can reunite families, where women are learning to trust their instincts about their own bodies, where people are learning to show up for each other across racial and class lines. Before we wrap up, there's one final truth you need to hear. 6 months after their reunion, Jennifer and Tamara stood together in a courtroom for Darnell's sentencing. He'd been convicted of attempted murder and assault with intent to harm an unborn child. The judge gave him 15 years. As they led Darnell away, he looked at Tamara one last time. "I'm sorry," he mouthed. Tamara didn't respond. She just held Grace a little tighter and turned to leave. Jennifer walked beside her, one arm around her daughter's shoulders. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered. The story had made national news: the poisoning, the miraculous reunion, the gas station collapse that saved 2 lives and reconnected a family. "Do you forgive him?" a reporter shouted. Tamara stopped, thought about it, then said, "Forgiveness isn't about him. It's about me choosing not to carry his poison anymore. He already put enough poison in my body. I won't let him poison my spirit, too." Jennifer squeezed her shoulder, proud beyond words. That night, 3 generations sat together in Jennifer's house: Jennifer, Tamara, and baby Grace. Jennifer had learned to cook soul food from YouTube videos, determined to give Tamara and Grace the cultural connection she'd been denied. The greens weren't quite right yet, but the love in them was perfect. "Tell me about my grandmother," Tamara said. "Your mother, my biological grandmother." Jennifer tensed. "She died 5 years ago. We never reconciled. She went to her grave believing she'd done the right thing by taking you away from me." "I'm sorry," Tamara said. "I'm not," Jennifer replied, "because being separated from you made me the kind of person who stops at gas stations. It made me someone who fights for people who can't fight for themselves. It made me your mother in the way that matters, by choice, not just biology." Tamara smiled. "Mama Sarah used to say the same thing. I chose you. I had 2 mothers who chose me. That's pretty special." Grace gurgled in her bassinet, and both women looked at her. "She's going to grow up knowing where she comes from," Jennifer said. "All of it, the good and the bad, the separation and the reunion, the poison and the healing. And she's going to grow up knowing that when someone needs help, you help," Tamara added. "No matter who they are, no matter what color their skin is, you help." Jennifer nodded. "That's the lesson in all of this, isn't it? That we're all connected in ways we can't see. That love is stronger than hate. That even when systems try to break families apart, even when evil tries to destroy life, something good can still grow." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just being together. 3 generations of women who almost weren't. A family that racism tried to prevent, that attempted murder almost destroyed, that a gas station collapse somehow saved. Outside, the Detroit streetlights flickered on. Somewhere in the city, other people were collapsing. Other people were walking past. Other people were making the choice to stop or keep going. This story isn't just about Tamara and Jennifer. It's about all of us. It's about the woman you walk past at the gas station, the person you assume is fine when they're falling apart. The connections you miss because you're too busy looking at your phone. The families that could be reunited if we made it easier to find each other. the poisonings, literal and metaphorical, that we ignore until it's almost too late. But it's also about the choice to see each other, to help, to fight, to refuse to give up on love even when love has been buried for 29 years. Tamara nearly died. Grace nearly never existed. Jennifer nearly missed her second chance to be a mother. But none of those things happened. Because one woman chose to stop, to kneel down on a dirty floor, to refuse to walk away. That's the power we all have. The power to see someone who needs help and choose to be the person who helps. The power to let love find a way, even when the world says it's impossible. Today, Jennifer is Grammy to Grace. She and Tamara talk every day. They spend holidays together. They're healing the wound that was opened in 1996 when a racist system tore them apart. It's not always easy. There's grief for the lost years, complicated feelings about the past, questions that don't have answers. But they're doing it together, and that makes all the difference. As for the gas station where it all began, Tamara and Jennifer drive past it sometimes. They don't stop, too many memories, but they slow down. They remember the day that everything changed, the day that love refused to stay buried. Because sometimes the hardest stories are the ones that heal us all. Sometimes the people we save turn out to be the people we've been searching for our whole lives. And sometimes a collapse is just the beginning of standing up stronger than ever before.